looking at me. Dance floors hopping and
Hello, everyone. Let's make sure my co-host Denise is ready to join us in our conversation today. By the way, she's got a jam-packed day of activities. So I'm so thankful that she can share some of her time with us. So let me knock on her hosting room door. Let's see if she's ready. Denise, are you ready? Okay, all right. I'm gonna bring you in. Hello, Denise.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So for our audience members who are watching this today, given the power of video, given the power of virtualness, you're actually watching this, everyone. I'm going to let the cat out of the box. You're watching this because it's been previously recorded, but it's still us.
We're still live right now.
We're still live. We're talking, we're moving, so it's still us. So Denise, let's jump right into it. What's going on in the business of real estate in Nashville, greater Nashville area? What's going on? Is it still a balanced market or is it changing a little bit?
I'd say it's still a balanced market.
Nice.
It's more geared toward the buyers than
Really?
it's been, a couple of years ago, for sure.
Okay.
Homes that aren't priced market-wise are sitting, and the market tells you what price your house should sell for.
Sure.
Not how much money you paid for it. It's not how much your friend said or what Zillow says. The market will tell you pretty quickly how much your house is worth. And those houses that are priced correctly, that are in great condition, and they're staged well, and photographs are important, those are still selling. But we're definitely seeing a slowdown. And actually this morning, I'm going to listen to 𝙍𝙬𝙖𝙡, who does the market graphics, and he is going to be in our market center. So I get to listen to him, and he's going to talk more in depth about the Nashville and Middle Tennessee real estate market. So I'll have lots more to share at a later point.
Yeah. So for that event that you're participating in, absolutely, as I know you will, take some great notes.
Well,
if there's any visual stuff, try to get copies. And for all of you watching us today, maybe, just maybe, see this meeting that Denise is going to participate in, we will kind of filter the information, make it short and simple, and share with you in the next episode. So come back and get that information for you, given what you might be ready to do as far as real estate. Okay, so it's good to hear. It's kind of tipping in the hands of the buyer. So no longer are we running into the situation in other metro areas where multiple offers. There's going to be one bride, and then all of the bridesmaids have to get back to square two. Am I correct?
Yeah, we still have some homes that have multiple offers because they're priced well, or they're even priced below market in order to encourage multiple offers. So that's still happening. It's just not as it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. So for those of you who are actively in market to buy your next home, maybe your first home, your second home, you want to have another pied de terre in downtown Nashville, I'm all for that, right? Or an investment. Or an investment property. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Things are looking in your favor. So with all of that said, Denise, I know this, and I think enough of your followers know this. You certainly have curated a very unique brand for your business, for you, and how you help your sellers. This is all about sellers right now. How you help your sellers sell their home. And so let's break down some of the market segments, right? You and I both know the baby boomer generation, right? The baby boomer generation right now is the largest generation with a lot of wealth behind them.
Absolutely.
Right, right. And I know this, it is not just, real living in Nashville. I think it's in other major metro areas.
Yes.
And other smaller areas of the US. So a lot of these baby boomers, I don't like to call them seniors because, 60 is the new 50. You know what I mean, right?
Well, when we were in high school, we just wanted to be seniors.
Yeah.
And that we are, not so much.
Not too much. We want to go backwards, right, right. So they carry the largest wealth, the largest amount of equity in real estate. So for these type of clients, right, where they are ready to move to their next chapter, and you are helping them spruce up the property if it needs to be done, and if it doesn't, you're at least gonna put your mojo on it to help them sell their property. Talk to us about this. I'm always curious to get into the headspace of a successful broker. How do you work your art, your magic of doing an open house?
Well, it goes back to exactly what you just said about, basically you're talking about staging.
Yeah.
And when you go into a home, we all live with things on our bathroom counter. We all have a toaster, maybe a coffee pot on our kitchen counter. Maybe we have just wadded up a kitchen towel. So those are the things that I have a stager that comes in and helps me, and she just fluffs the home is a good way to say it. And she might add some pictures. She might add some flowers. She might add rugs. Some places need warmth. Some places need decluttering. Everybody needs something different.
Right.
But to give you an example, you mentioned open house. When I do open houses, if the open house is from 2 to 4, I get there around 1.
Okay.
And I turn on every light I can find. Every little light. You open every single blind. You make sure that the kitchen counter and the bathroom counters are completely clean, because when someone comes in, clutter is just a negative vibe to a buyer.
Right.
So they can imagine their things there, but it's hard to look over the salt and pepper that are on the counter, or your Kleenex and your toothbrush and your little holder that has a toothbrush and the toothpaste in it. And the towel that's there, the towel needs to be folded nicely. It's little things like that. But you mentioned open houses as being important. Yeah. I think they should always be done the first weekend.
Yeah.
The house is on the market. Do it, even if you already have offers.
Oh, I like that.
Or, a backup offer. I'm in a situation right now that we went under contract in the first 24 hours.
Okay.
And the person backed out 2 days later because her contractor couldn't meet her renovation deadlines that she needed for her children. So always do the open house. To me, there's lots of things you can do to get people into the open house. But I think the number one thing you do when people are there is be welcoming.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Ask them their name. Do your very, very best to remember their names. It's hard sometimes.
I know.
And find out, what brought them to the open house, what they're looking for. And, you'll find people that'll say, I'm just a neighbor and I've always wanted to see this house and here's my opportunity. I had a lady the other day that came into an open house and she said, I actually made an offer on this house a few years ago in 2021. And she said, I never even got to see it, but I knew it was a great house in my neighborhood and I knew I would love it. But my client actually ended up buying it at that time. So for her, it was fun to come in and see it. But I think being as welcoming, thanking people for coming by, asking for feedback. What are your thoughts? What would you change with it? How would you live in it? Yeah. And I think that's important. Getting people there, yes. make sure that it's announced, that you put it into the MLS, which syndicates out to Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com, all of those. But it's when you get people there, it's how you interact with them. And I'm not real big on hounding you for your contact information. If you want to share it, I think that's great. But I'm very welcoming. I'd love to have it. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have it. But, people don't like to be pressured.
True.
They don't like to.
So you don't always require them to sign in at your open houses. You try. Ask politely. Yeah, I hear you.
I ask politely, and most people will give you their name.
Right.
And a lot of people will reach back out. I make sure everybody leaves with my contact info.
Right.
And that has worked well for me, but that's my brand. When you talk about my brand is not pushy. I want people to work with me who want to work with me.
I'm with you. So this past weekend, Denise, what you described to me is spot on. This past weekend, I had an opportunity to sit at an open house with a peer of yours.
Yeah.
And just like what you described, he staged the entire weekend, Saturday and Sunday, several hours to do this open house. And it was a fresh new listing, very nice single family home. And then here's the kicker. They have a pool in the back, right?
No.
Okay. And so this past weekend, Saturday, Denise, it was steamy hot. So what he apparently had planned all along was just like what you did, right? He opened all the blinds, turned on all the lights. He brought this big old ice cooler of cold drinks. He left it in the back on the patio right next to the pool. So whenever people would come through the door, and at one point it was so busy. So he kind of looked at me and said, Bill, I'm so thankful that you're here to kind of help me, right? And I said, hey, I can always help, start and engage people in a conversation.
That's really important too.
Yeah, that's important.
Instead of eyes and ears.
That's right. And also, let's be real, Denise. There's always some risk to an open house, so that when you can have either a friend, a business partner, kind of co-host it with you, you've got another set of eyes, ears, and hands to kind of like make sure nothing is going south.
100%. I mean, safety is important. Yes.
Safety is important. Right. And so we had 60 interested parties come through.
Wow, that's a great open house.
Yeah, the 2 days. And then here's my next question. I want to get your feedback to this one. Of that count of interested parties that came through, there were at least 5 parties that came through with their broker, so with their buyer's broker. So my question to you, I'm always curious. I want to get your input. Is that a good sign? That must be a good sign, right?
Yeah. I think I think yes, absolutely. That's if they're already working with a realtor,
right?
It's a sign they are truly in a search for a home. And sometimes when the brokers come through, I love it because I can call and ask for feedback.
Yeah.
I'm always very respectful
of
the client, and I speak to the client, I speak to the agent, and I'm always respectful of that relationship and appreciative because I do that same thing sometimes. And sometimes my clients go to open houses, unaccompanied.
Yeah, because you're busy or you're on vacation, right?
Yeah. And I've had agents to reach out to me and said, hey, your clients came by an open house the other day. They put your name down that you're working with you. What do they think about the house?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's just a respect and a camaraderie between agents.
Yeah. And like you said, I think it's so important, when you're doing an open house, whether your expectation is, you're going to get a handful, 6 or less interested parties, or the 60 that we encounter, it doesn't matter. In our business, right? It only takes one buyer. We know that, right?
Only one person can buy the house.
That's right. Only one person. And so, just like you touched upon, what this broker who I know, what he told me, Sunday when we both kind of said, "Hey, all right, we're ending this nice weekend of activity." What he said to me, which was so great feedback for me, was, "Bill, thank you for sharing your time to sit at this with me to help me." And also, of course, third component, being present to be able to answer any questions about financing, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Having said all of that, you know what he really said to me after dropping all of that? He said, "I found it so effective that you and I were able to engage each and every party in a welcoming hello."
Yeah.
And then, what I learned from him very quickly, he kind of told me about it after the Saturday open house. And it was, the more we know about these interested parties, the more we can have them in a casual conversation. Like you said, ask for feedback about this property. What brings you out here today? Where do you live now? Right? What are you looking for as maybe your next step? The more you know, there is that NBC infomercial, the more you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People like to talk.
Yes. If you have to read the situation always.
Right.
Right. But the ones that reciprocate, like in any relationship, playing a tennis match, if they hit the ball back to you, answering a question, you hit it back. If it keeps going, that conversation can open up to some wonderful things. And that's what I learned from him. And so he kind of said to me, he said, "Bill, I had no doubt," which is why I asked you to help me. "I had no doubt you'd be a great partner in helping me engage what I hope would be a lot of interested parties." So it's so refreshing to hear that's also your vibe as well. So for today, audience members, this is for you. If you may be a seller in the next 30 to 90 days, and you're wondering, "Oh, I really wish I didn't have to do an open house," I get you. But guess what? The right broker, and perhaps that's Denise, right? Perhaps that's Denise for you, will do it in such a way where it's impactful and it'll get you to the result that you want sooner rather than later, right?
Absolutely. My very first sale came from someone I met at an open house.
Yeah.
He was a first-time buyer, and we lost out a couple of times, but then we found him the perfect home.
Yeah. Let's now shift our conversation to working with investors. What's your experience working with investors? And by that, I mean, for example, we talked about this in previous episodes, right? Right there in your backyard with how you work your mojo, Denise, you've got the need for great housing. Why? Because right there in downtown Nashville, there's Vanderbilt Medical Center, Vanderbilt Medical School. All of these lovely young physicians going through med school need a place to live, right?
Right.
So what has been your experience working with investors that may be buying a property to rent out? How do you help them?
So in 2021, I started working with an investor who had 45 to 50 rental properties. He just accumulated over the years. He bought them at the courthouse steps, or he found a good deal, whatever, but he had a lot of long-term properties.
Right.
So he decided that he had already kind of decided to sell, but the pandemic and that housing market really afforded him a great opportunity. He had a contractor that he worked with and a stager. And anyway, all of us worked together to sell 15 of those properties during that time.
Wow.
But he took, each time he sold something or a couple, they sold so quickly, he turned it into a 1031 exchange. And we went and found properties And he wanted to elevate the price level of his properties and the rental price as well. So he took a lot of those and bought property here. He bought property in the 38 area in Florida, and he bought property in Naples. Yeah. So he diversified his portfolio a little bit because of that. And properties. And so, you know, and it was cash.
Yeah.
All the properties were paid off. So I learned a lot about, you know, what the numbers working.
Yeah.
What makes the numbers work.
Right.
At the same time, he holds on to properties for a long time.
Yeah.
So and we found a great 1031 intermediary that really saved on some fees for him.
Yeah.
But understanding 1031 exchanges, I think, is key to working with investors.
You heard it, everyone. Denise knows all about 1031 exchanges. So for those of you watching who may be first-time investors or an experienced investor, just like Denise's client, you got to hit her up. By the way, we're going to make it easy for you before we wrap up today as to how you can find and reach out to Denise. Now, I'm going to lean in here and touch on that same subject.
Great.
But investors buying real estate. I have no doubt the investors that have done pretty well for themselves, they have either paid off mortgages on each one of their investment properties, and somehow, somewhere beforehand, they turned all of that equity into cash to be able to repurpose it, use it again, right? For those of you who are potential investors, there is financing available, just so you know. Financing is readily available. Financing is available where you actually are only going to use the cash flow of each and every property to qualify for the loan that you want. So that's how it's different than when John and Jane Doe is getting a loan to buy a home to live in, of course, again, with Denise, right? So for all of you watching today, as we wrap up, here is the drum roll, right? The simple part. How can you start a conversation with Denise? And along the way, should you need my help with financing your next real estate purchase, how can you get both of us together in a call? It's really simple. All you need to do is simply scan the QR code that you see here. As you already know, because Denise has dropped some of her secrets to the art of doing the open house. She will gladly take you through her journey, her process to get you to the outcome that you want. So Denise, as we wrap up, thank you for sharing your time with all of us today. I know you've got a jam-packed day of events and business
showings. Yeah. And the next time that we meet, I would love to hear some of the offerings that you might have for investors. Yeah. What does that look like? I mean, is it 5% down? Is it 20% down? Does it take into consideration the cash flow?
Yep.
Does the cash flow need to be? Can I use that to buy the next thing? So I'd love to know more because I always find it fascinating.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that. And by the way, for all of you watching and listening, you heard it. That's the call to action. Denise has teased us with, that's what you can expect in the next episode. So Denise, have a great Wednesday. It's summer for both of us. I know the weather here for me is like blue skies and sunny. Same for you?
Yes, it's very warm. Keep those dogs off of the pavement and in the grass.
So true. So true. All right. Have a wonderful day. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.